So, we already mentioned the same combo could be already available, and if not, Wave Clear is the name of the game for that shrine.
I mean, I would argue that if you're already committing to a Deck Arcane ban on Dragonshire, you would already consider banning him out also in Inferno Shrine, since he gets just amazing value here. Genji was also the first ban on SPT's side in game number 1, but it's really the Diablo that I have my eyes on here.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right. I think especially with Masaka's performance in the first game, I think you really have to highlight the Diablo as a main focus here. And I think it's very interesting actually that CE have gone straight into 2 support bans. This kind of indicates that they're looking for some sort of support choke. It's hard to think what support they'd want to first pick though, because I feel like Alexstrasza and Deckard are your go-to supports on this map. So if they did want a support choke, you'd think they'd leave one open and maybe go for something else. But we actually even see SPT banning the Diablo.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense to you? Because if you are that heavy on committing to banning out supports like we're seeing from CE, normally you would think that this is the first pick on a support, which feels a little bit weird, but at the same time that's normally like the go-to. So if that's already what your opponent signalizes and then you ban out your tank that you want to have, feels a little bit odd to me.
Yeah, it's very strange. I'm really curious to see. Okay, they are going to go into the Reyna. I mean, you have to wonder. Yeah, you have to wonder where these support bans are coming from. Maybe they're just looking for a slightly different game. It could just be they're trying to throw SPT off with taking out some of these meta supports. So
trying to maybe bait the Malfurion for some kind of burst comp like we saw earlier.
Maybe they feel a little bit uncomfortable with the Malfurion or like some of these lower tier support picks.
365 is very comfortable with the Malfurion. He's picked it almost double the amount of times of any other hero. But you can see here, SPT, if this is a kind of bait, they're not biting, as they are going to react to their opponent's pick support-wise. Now, in theory, this would allow CE to ban out another support and then pick one and actually do a support choke. But it is also the option of, once again, you can still see SPT flexing, pick someone with Cleanse if it's a heavy burst comp, for example.
I think it's still odd because now they're not even picking one. It's like, I really expected them to pick a support now, ban another one out, then you are like in the dream situation where you can deny 4 supports to your opponent. But a support choke in itself already is a little bit weird, and now they are opening themselves up to being choked out here. If another support is now, for example, being banned by SPT, but even if not, SPT has the next double pick, so they can still pick whatever they want.
Oh, okay, I see. I see. Trying to hide their own support choice is an interesting idea. And also, once again, it is more support chokes. They're going to get Malfurion or Stukov, whichever one they prefer first for SPT.
I mean, Rhaegar is also still out there.
That's true. So my only theory right now is this is the idea for CE to pick some kind of burst melee like the Valera or something like that, and they're trying to bait SPT into a very unburst friendly support.
I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. At this point, I'm just happy that CE banned the Oregon, not another support.
Very interesting they banned another support. I think my eyes here are still on the Maiev, still open. We saw SPT playing it earlier. They looked quite confident with it. The Malfurion will come out. This does still leave open for a Maiev pick here in the end. I was thinking more, you know, they're very, like you said, the Malfurion or the Stukov, both look very, very good for their composition right now, so I think they were fine with either. I'm curious, you know, if CE are feeling comfortable with the Stukov, and that was kind of their plan the whole time. The Oriole ban is still, I'm not really sure what that means. Maybe CE have some sort of, you know, strategy that I'm not aware of. Maybe like a Gul'dan Oriole or something.
Oriole Asmodan.
Yeah, maybe.
Hammer Rhaegar. That's potentially a Bloodlust comp, if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, I mean, on the Shrine especially against this Garrosh Eero frontline, it's quite hard to get through into a Hammer Rhaegar, especially if they have a Bloodlust, a Blaze, and the Joanna. This composition looks like if you get an advantage on the Shrine, you're winning that Shrine, because if you're able to hold that position, it's going to be so hard for SPT to break through this kind of like wall of tanks, plus a Bloodlust, plus these 2 auto attackers.
And this was kind of a no-brainer. We see Chromie, even in Western Clash, she was the go-to counter. Even in HGC China, both these teams know that she is the go-to counter for a Sergeant Hammer, and yet CE still willing to go headfirst into it when a ranged pick was still available for Super Perfect team.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can look at this map as one of Chromie's like weaker maps. Not exactly a map where she's super effective on. You know, obviously she has the Dragon's Breath to try and attempt to get skulls, but you're going to be wanting to save that to combo the Sergeant Hammer. So as far as their skulls go, they look a little bit weak, honestly. Like, Eero scales well into doing skulls, especially at 16 when she gets some talents, but at least in the early shrines, she's not super effective. I really think CE have the stronger shrines here, and I think if they're able to set up and position their hammer and maybe even try and zone the Chromie with the Blaze, it can be very, very hard for SPT to break through this kind of composition.
I mean, one of the things that I could still see is with the better coordination we have from SPT, that they get a Garrosh flip into Roots, into Chromie. That might be something, but yeah, I'm still a little bit weirded out by the bans that we've seen in this game.
Yeah,
but towards the, I mean, at the end of the day, the setup that CE has is solid.
Do you think that these last 2 picks were predetermined, or was this a reaction to the fact that there's maybe attempted support choke or support bait didn't go the way they felt?
It's hard to say. I feel like, you know, if you're looking for some sort of support choke draft, you pick the support earlier, you know? You go for some sort of strategy. It kind of felt like, again, what I was saying earlier, they just want to try and throw SPT off. They want to make the game a little bit uncomfortable. They want some weird picks to come in.
Also, what I would always argue is that it's really hard these days to actually choke out a role completely.
That's true.
You can force your opponent into supports that are on a lower tier, but then we're talking China, who already has shown that they are completely okay playing like Rhaegar, Karazim, like everything that's there. So what do you choke out? If you talk about the Western meta, you have certain heroes at the top, and once they are gone, you have to deviate away. You can make arguments in banning out cleanses, but that doesn't make any sense there either. So,
yeah,
I mean, they picked the support on the last pick after starting with the double support ban.
And because of that, chat, and also the previous game, chat has very much flip-flopped over to Super Perfect Team, and you can't really blame them after that first game. And this was, you already mentioned, there's good shrine clear, but this was such a peculiar draft from CE.
Yeah, really. I think they've actually ended up with something like very, very effective, which is very surprising because, you know, was this their plan the whole time? Because from the start of the draft, it doesn't really feel like this is what they're looking to end up with.
It's like driving through a cornfield instead of the motorway and somehow still ending up at your destination.
Yeah, they've ended up where they want to be, but I'm like, did you really want to get here? Like, it's a bit strange. But
it's a distraction.
Yeah, I really do like what they've ended up with. I think, you know, the burden of execution is kind of sitting on SPT's shoulders, you know, looking for these good Chromie combos, looking for these Garrosh engages, like you said. But I feel like if CE find the position, it's going to be so difficult for SPT to break through.
And how would you think SPT are going to break through, other than maybe those Garrosh flips?
Personally, I think at this point, just exploit the lack of synergy that we have experienced on CE side in game number 1. If they can do that, then they can overcome any kind of weaknesses from a compositional side.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree. You know, SPT very clearly looked like the stronger team in the first game. Maybe Misaka has another wonder game, finds these, you know, interesting flanks, especially with the Iro as well. Both of these heroes can look for these interesting flanks, maybe find, you know, a Raynor or even potentially a Hammer, like in a weird position, and try and get the fight started that way. I think if they're able to break the position of CE in some way, presumably with a flank through the Iro, they'll maybe be able to, you know, break through these shrines. But I am worried if CE do get set up, if they do get like a 10, a 20 skull lead, if it would be too hard for SPT to take the shrine from there.
So you think this might be a slow game here by CE to just try and set up and then push slowly with the Punisher as opposed to a wombo combo style?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're definitely looking for like a much slower game. But at the same time, you know, we have got the Bloodlust factor coming in here. Like maybe they're just going to set up, they wait for the engage, they pop Bloodlust, they run them down with the Hyperion. You know, it could get very explosive with CE's draft very quickly.
And you say slow game, I say China, so...
Well, on that explosive or slow note, we will find out very shortly. We are heading into the game, ladies and gentlemen. It is game number 2 between Super Perfect Team and CE, and we are on the Infernal Shrines.
Time to shine as we are going into game number 2. SPT going up against CE again, and we have them starting to the left in blue. But luckily on Phoenix this time we have ZZH on Malfurion, Misaka on Garrosh, Soap, the Pizza King on Urel, and Melody C on Chromie.
And on the right-hand side, also from China, it is CE with 520 on Reina, Zhu on Blaze, Wind on Johanna, 365 on Rhaegar, and Timeless is playing the Sergeant Hammer. And for those who have not heard that story, would you like to explain the nickname you just gave to Soap Pizza King?
Yeah, definitely. So, Soap basically earned himself the nickname Pizza King when we were in China for GCWC, because he was one of the few that could speak proper English and was very helpful towards all the foreigners who at some point were like, well, we need food, but we can't order anything anywhere. So Soap was a dedicated pizza order person who just helped out Fnatic, helped out Dignitas whenever there was an order incoming. So especially late at night, he was the one that always made sure that everyone was well fed.
That is fantastic. Cool guy. I mean, I've seen so many players talk about that before.
Oh, he's
they
amazing.
All love him.
He was a lot of fun, really memey the entire time, so it was pretty cool. Another thing that's kind of cool here is also what we're currently seeing for Chromie. We actually have deep breathing as the level 1 talent choice here. I can hear Tricks like cry in the corner.
Well, this was
back in North America.
This was a build that was popularized by RPG, the team of Locktar, one of the substitutes for BTG. They very much liked this talent going into basically a full build with debriefing, enveloping assault, which we already do see, and then usually it's the Mobius loop. And the whole idea here is to just stack that up as fast as possible, and that allows you to consistently abuse the hammer, as opposed to one-off maybe to siege tactics and use the armor to block the damage. Instead, it's consistent. If you're sieged up, Chromie's going to hit you over and over again. It's a hit and miss build for RPG especially. They seem to struggle with it a little bit, but it has had some really good success against the hammer in the past.
We have a couple of wild builds coming in also on other heroes. When we're talking about Blaze, normally it's always a stim pack on the level 1, but we've seen in one of the previous games already the new habits taken as the quest talent. Now, there have been a couple of Blaze adjustments over the duration of the Western Clash 2, but Crossfire on level 7 is by now the preferred talent. That's another one that we have seen coming in here at the Eastern Clash as well. But definitely additional adjustments coming in from the teams here. Now, even with Feeding the Flame taken on level... with Meltdown taken on level 4 for Blaze. So, completely different build. CE showed that already a bit earlier, but it's definitely not something that we're used to seeing on that level of play.
With Meltdown especially, this is a Blaze that wants to be in the front line and get stuck in, as opposed to zoning oil and fuel, for example, with all that with all that zoning control you can get with that. So a very interesting rotation on the build. We also see, despite a Reyna being on the team, it is going to be the Wolf Run coming in from the Rhaegar, so extra map rotational abilities and escape potential.
The one thing that I find still a little bit funny is that we were talking about Chromie, who just completely goes into the Mobius loop right now, the Dragon's Breath on 1, 4, and 7 being skilled. But that build is also assisted by the Shando's Clarity on Malfurion on level 1, so it's all about the cooldown reduction here. And you basically have a machine gun Chromie at this point.
Yeah, and Chromie, it's almost always been that Time Walker's Pursuit at level 1, but in this case, like you said, deciding not to go with mana regen himself and relying on Malfurion to do it. So it's a little bit of synergy there, as the first objective already started. Misaka finds a nice little 520, tries to lock him down, but there's some good micro happening. They're also able to force back, luckily though.
Yeah, luckily Felix was able to move out of that one. And still the sieged up position here. Camps at the top lane, still pushing in. But we have one camp emerging strong, and that's SPT. So time is currently working in their favor with the Shaman camp at the top. But down here, it's just Chromie shelling away with breath after breath, and Timeless is low.
Rhaegar can't keep up with this. Look at this. Look at the damage on Timeless already, and look at the stacks for Chromie as well. Because Timeless is just sitting still. She's getting so many Q stacks.
Yeah, 5 so far. So getting a couple of those in on the Dragon's Breath, but also, of course, getting on her own quest 18 by now.
Absolutely fantastic. Speaking of quests, new habits already complete. It's a Globe talent, so that is quite good. Double stun by the Punisher, but with CE, like we already mentioned, they have the Spirit Shrine clear. They're able to get Punisher, drop the fort very low, but the Chromie damage is forcing the retreat. Wind is low, but no one's in range to finish him off.
Yeah, but Chromie is definitely getting the stacks together, and on the deep breathing on level 1, she just went from 5 stacks up to 12. So we are definitely seeing Chromie get a lot of value out of these situations here right now. And as you said, on the last one, she already put Hammer into a really precarious situation here. And that's just going to continue. Nice flip here. Good kill. Reyna again down. This is just a thing with like these Chinese Reynas that starts to tilt me a little bit. They are so far out, they're just not playing safe, and they get punished over and over again for it.
They're a ranged hero. They should be played like one. Another talent which we already saw coming into effect here is that extra siege range on Sergeant Hammer. The Maelstrom shells giving the extra area of effect, so you can clear the shrines even quicker. This is of course just comboed with that siege mode and the hover siege, so you can try and out micro Chromie, who has gone for slowing sands. Once again, it's going to be a great talent to set up for Phoenix.
I mean, I'm not going to lie, I'm really curious to see how much Chromie can do in the later stages of the game against this setup that we're seeing here, given that she is just getting so much value out of the cooldown reduction that she herself has through hitting heroes, but then also added by Malfurion. And Hammer is having trouble with that in the first rotation already. Once those stacks are in play, that should become even more difficult. So I'm really interested to see Shrine number 2, Shrine number 3, and how this battle between Chromie and Hammer is going to unfold.
As am I. We will have to see. She's gone for siege tactics, which is why Chromie did not go for the temporal loop here. And of course, there is already Rhaegar with Cleanse as well. That would be incredibly rough if that was not on the board. But we have been seeing Rhaegar especially has had so many issues keeping up with this damage output of Chromie. And the build he's gone for, you're not going for the mana reduction on the heal at level 4, meaning that you can't go for the cooldown reduction at level 13. Otherwise, Rhaegar's never going to be able to keep up. Instead, you're going to get that like 1 Earth Shield, which will block maybe 1 hit, and then you're going to have huge issues again.
And again, we are talking about currently 15 stacks on the Dragon's Breath, and if you have another 10, then you get the additional 140 damage, and that's going to be pretty brutal, because this damage spike that you get by completing your quest is really going to help to take down Hammer, because it also comes with the additional cooldown reduction that we already highlighted a few times right now. So Chromie is just going to get shot after shot after shot, and I feel that CE is already starting to feel that pressure.
And even if Hammer stays further back and just doesn't reveal herself until Chromie is dealt with, that extra 100% sight radius once that quest is complete is going to be another huge deal. Chromie is going to be a great vision tool for her team.
24 stacks, by the way, on the Sand Blast for Chromie, just to keep you guys in the known of that. At level 10 versus 10, as we have the Shrine activating at the top. And this is really the moment where Chromie has the best chances of getting additional stacks together. So it's a question of, can you complete your quest here in the process now?
This is actually might be Melody C's first ever win on Chromie. He's only played, or at least in this phase, he's only played her once and lost once.
I mean, he hasn't won it yet.
He hasn't won it yet, but right now he's getting a lot of stacks. As we see the move-in attempt by Misaka, but quick Iron Skin prevents any engage by Wind.
Also, Chromie just like Dragon Breathing herself, getting a few more minions in here, and we see that a couple of times now.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised that we see Melody C not trying to get the additional stacks now. We have 16 on the Dragon's Breath, and they're starting to go in a little bit deeper here. Perfect setup also for the Sand Blast, as Soap is jumping in deep.
Just out of range of Timeless, but they're finally beginning, once again, they're clearing up the objective much quicker. They're trying to race due to the fact of how much damage. We see the Sacred Ground drop by Soap here, and he puts pressure onto Zhu. Zhu dives deep onto Melody C, but is completely dodged. Salvo is dropped and denied completely by the bunker.
And once again, Dragon's Breath stacks are coming in, so are the Sand Blast. Good damage coming out of Melody C. Shuyu is low, gets the cleanse and moves out. 35 against 34. Reina dead again, and this is only the beginning since Shuyu is still low, but they get that Punisher. They get it, but they lose Blaze.
They lose Blaze, and they might lose more as Soap is blocking 365 escape, but Wolf Run gets 365 out. But we saw there, Blaze, he got a dash out. Deep breathing complete, by the way, but we saw Blaze, he got the dash out, and then was immediately body blocked by Hammer. The disadvantage of Hover Siege, and Hammer not wanting to unsiege because she was actually dealing damage and securing them that Punisher.
But right now we have already Chromie's level 1 quest completed, so we are having, that's a huge deal actually for the next phase. This one, they lost, but barely, and they got the kills in return, so it's not like they lost too much of a position on the map itself. So for the next objective, it's absolutely fantastic what we're seeing for SPT. And when we talk about Sandblast, we're also sitting at 36 stacks right now.
Sacred Ground dropped by Soap. He's pulling back as Chromie begins to drop the damage in this choke point. And that forces the retreat from CE, unable to pick up the kill with the Punisher already cleared. It has been 2 Punishers over to CE, but they've been unable to take down any thoughts, with Timeless being forced back due to this Chromie damage. You can see that Chromie damage coming in, a third of 520's health already.
I'm actually really surprised how well SPT's draft is currently working out for them here. I mean, we talked with Snitch about it earlier. Once that CE is set up on a Shrine, it should be very, very difficult for SPT to crack through that defense, but they're doing an absolute admirable job to do exactly that and secure kills here. So that works extremely well and gives them even the advantage in talents and experience now as they're taking the level 13.
To use a castle as an example here, what we're seeing here is not so much running up the walls of a castle and hitting it, but using a trebuchet to just shoot over it and hit the king in the back. It's pretty convenient here, having this Chromie, having this pressure onto all those backline heroes. Even Reina and Rhaegar, who have actually been grouping up together a fair amount, have been eating so many of these hits, they've been having issues positioning-wise.
I mean, SPT right now this is really all about the next objective. I feel this is where this is going to shine, but we already have at the same time here more damage onto 520. Reina is really suffering from all that Chromie poke that comes out, especially as Garrosh is setting it up with a great taunt here. So Misaka is finding the place again, as he did in game number 1 against Diablo.
Shield finally on the board for Rhaegar. Extra protection, always nice against this, especially when you have armor from Siege Tactics from that Reina level 4. You have ways to deal with this.
I mean, Blaze at this point is also just wild. We're going into level 13 right now, and we have the Suppressive Fire taken.
Oh, yeah.
That's fantastic if you can put it onto Chromie, but...
You gotta get there.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna get there first. So I'm not quite sure how much Shuyu is actually going to get out of the talent. We're definitely going to monitor that in the next objective, but right now I'm doubting the choice a little bit.
Chromie is still just chunking through the heroes. If this was a Dragon's Eye build, then this would be terrifying single target damage, but it's all about that consistency right now, the consistency of the damage over the immediate burst.
I'm still like a little bit stunned by the 13. If Blaze can get on Chromie, that's going to be fantastic, reducing the damage here, but it's really, as he said, it's a positional question. And is Shuyu able to go that deep without getting punished for it by Phoenix, by Urel, and by Garrosh? That's the big question here. And this is the shrine that we've been waiting for. This is the first shrine after Chromie completed her level 1 quest. And currently she sits also at 45 stacks on her Sandblast. So the damage output from a distance is pretty significant here. And Timeless is going to experience that firsthand, I'm pretty sure about that.
We're talking about ability power increases with those shifting sands coming in for Chromie. And now with so many immobile targets, it's going to be very easy to stack up that extra spell power, which will affect everything else. Yuyu wrapping around from behind, a great engage here. We see the immediate tranquility with CZH dropped very low. Salvo coming out, bunker denying the damage onto Blaze at least.
That was a really interesting engage that we saw there, but so far SPT is surviving through it. A great flank in the back. Oh, once again, Shuyu is actually getting body blocked here, and he finds himself in a spot where he has no chance of escaping. He falls, and we're now seeing SPT re-engaging into the shrine. The 5 versus 4 in their favor. Chromie with the damage from the back.
Iron Skin able to block a good amount of it with the help of that Earth Shield, but it's enough to force Wind to back up, and that will guarantee the Punisher for super perfect.
To be honest, what won SPT the fight, or what made sure that CE couldn't win it, was actually a time trial of Chromie. Because what happened is that we saw Blaze circle around to engage from the back, and as he went in with the stun and his jet propulsion, we saw also Johanna engage at the same time, throw out a blessed shield, follow up with a CC, and walk straight into a time trap, just as she was about to engage with a Condemn. If there's no time trap, and you get that actual follow-up with a Condemn, push everyone in, I'm pretty sure that Chromie falls, or at least another hero dies there, and then CE just can take the shrine. That didn't work out, so SPT now in a great spot.
Speaking of great spots, that was a clutch escape by Zhu there. Ancestral dropped by 365 and a BFG dissuasion tool basically from Timeless. This Punisher is still going to go in, be aggressive, but they might have saved the keep with this Punisher already being dropped a little low.
Again, one more Q connecting here as Melody C is stacking up his Sandblast, 54 right now, missing only a few to complete another quest on Chromie, and the damage output that we're seeing is already pretty impressive. The keep, though, still in play. So SPT has taken the lead, 4 kills against 0. They are on level 17, as CE is just about hit 16, but at least the red team has been able to hold on to all of their inner defenses.
See the rotation down to bot, grabbing that Kasra camp. When you're ahead, get more ahead, more pressure, remove tools for your opponent to come back, and this is going to be one of them. But Wind, with one of the most aggressive wraparounds I've ever seen, gets the Condemn, looks for more, but his team a little bit slow on the follow-up here. It's only Misaka still in range, and they don't want to fight him straight up.
Yeah, Misaka gets actually the flip here and puts Wind into a bit of pressure, forces out the... Oh, Reina dead again as Chromie just delivers. Here comes the immediate tranquility as they're starting to move in again. They want the next kill, but Bama barely moving out of the fight.
Blaze waits for the route to expire, looks for an escape route, knocked up by the Garrosh, a toss by Garrosh onto Rhaegar. This time Salvo comes out, doesn't get hit by the Chromie damage, but the great body block from Soap is enough. Now Zhuyu, he's all alone in no man's land, taken out. And Johanna and Hammer, the only ones to survive.
Easiest triple kill of their life, dropping Rhaegar and Blaze towards the end of the battle there after the initial kill against Reyna. That was great play here. Now you have a 2-level lead with 18 versus 16. Chromie is able to pick up her Storm Talent, and they don't even have to wait for the objective. They just go straight into the middle, starting to take this one down. The keep is gonna fall here for sure if they poke away, and then they can just fall back and reap the rewards.
Timeless likely misses Rhaegar right now, and there's a huge engage. Chromie with another kill on Raider. Wind is desperately trying to absorb some of the hits for Timeless, but it's not doing anything. It's just Chromie's already stacked.
And it was just staggered deaths that we are seeing there, especially the taunt setup that we saw from Misaka was great. Get the talent in, confirm another kill. 65 stacks by now for Chromie.
Oh man.
And she's just shelling away. They dominate the map. They're so close to level 20 right now. CE is again getting bodied. This is pretty reminiscent in terms of dominance, what we've seen in game number 1.
We saw a little bit sign of hope in the early game where they were able to grab Punisher after Punisher, but SPT have shut that down. 8 kills to 0. And right now, CE, this might be their last chance, but they're going to be pushing into level 20s.
It's an unorthodox style that we see with the Chromie setup here, but it has really worked out against this hammer composition of CE up to this point. And now level 20s are soon going to be ready for the rest of SPT's lineup too. And once everyone has their Storm Talents here, that Shrine is going to activate, and then you should be able to dominate. This is why CE is forcing another fight right now.
BFG, the damage does out on Merly C, but he's already escaped over the wall here. Zhu is in danger, drops the bunker very early here, but they've already eaten all the damage. As we see them moving in, Hammer's gone for that extra shield on the siege mode, on those siege tactics, so that she can stay alive. 365 pulling back, but a salvo. 365 heals and stays alive.
How much damage? All the damage. I mean, this one was the great escape of Rhaegar here in 2018. And Sesto comes out, Hammer falls, but Phoenix is also dead. They're still fighting underneath that fort. Gonna take that out any second here.
The fort is down.
I mean, they're getting the kills. Safe play would be to just fall back at the Punisher and go for that.
I mean, they're so low, tossing a minion onto Johanna. They're looking for the kill. Rhaegar trying to shield from over the wall with no mana at all. That fight was so long in terms of duration with Rhaegar. Not a very mana-efficient build here, just having to back up.
Yeah, and now, of course, the Shrine is easily going to go over to SPT. And then it's really a question of how do you play it. You're going to try and get the keep at the top lane, but of course your end goal is going to be that core. You have still a Storm Talent advantage, so you want to make sure that you burst through that very quickly. Not 100% certain what CE is doing here. That is more than questionable.
We have a BFG coming in from downtown.
That is...
Okay. I don't really know the purpose of that one.
I mean, sorry, but that was just a wasted cooldown. I have no idea what they're thinking here. They can't engage into 4 versus 5. They don't have the Storm Talent. Your opponent is already sitting at more than 30 stacks. What do you think is going to happen there?
Well, they're all grouped up in mid lane. Looks like they're going to try and go for one last defense here. They still have the wall on this keep. Oh, you be careful, friend. Saka gets the knock up, finds you.
This would be a nice moment to use a BFG now in that fight, but that's still a 30-second cooldown. So very questionable choices here towards the end of on CE's side. Let's see if they can hold the defense here. They have Hyperion, they have a lot of tools, and they already burst that Punisher down to half health.
Hammer with the max range knockback, still stutter stepping back as Yrel goes deep. Timeless siege tactics, just going to have to boost back into the base. Gets the Ancestral very early. He was about the amount of health he had was healed, so that's not terrible. Still eats half his health worth of Chromie damage though.
I mean, you still have a chance to save that core. That core isn't gone just yet, and that Immortal is also the Punisher is down to 10%. They can definitely do that, but Wind needs to be careful here. They don't have 20s, and he goes down.
Johanna gets taken out. Zhuyu is desperately trying to delay and distract it. If he can escape this alive, which he might do here, it's not the worst. BFG clears the lane from catapults, which are already pushing in the mid lane, at least a little bit, delays it. The armor applied by Timeless being forced to back up. Shield still up on the court. It's a slow defense, but it could still happen.
Yeah, they have Hammer. They can definitely defend.
They don't have Reyna, though.
Reina is again frontlining, and we've already seen a few times earlier today that that's not the best position for him to be in. So he goes down, and so does the core.
3 catapults on the core. Luckily, it's just microing for his life here. This is going down. Timeless can't defend 1v5. It's slow, it's methodical, but they got it. That's going to be game number 2 and the series going over to Super Perfect Team. And with that, we say goodbye to CE.
It's a little bit of a rough one. I'm definitely very, very confused by the decision-making towards the end, because instead of moving straight into the top lane again and posturing around a shrine that they can't win, trying to bait a fight that they can't win either, they could have simply moved into the mid lane and the bot lane, tried and take 2 more waves, and then Hearthstone back for the defense with all their heroic abilities up and potentially a level 20 coming in. I think that would have been their best chance to defend the core. Instead, they went top lane as a 4-man with a very weird setup and wasted their heroic ability for nothing. So it was a little bit odd to see that, but would have really have made a difference is the question here, because SPT just played a really great game from start to finish again.
Yes, Snitch, once again, another very clean game from Super Perfect Team.
Yeah, I think I'd like to highlight some of the great adaptations that Super Perfect Team made. You know, the Chromie W build, the Sacred Ground Irel, they very, very, you know, clearly identified the win condition of CE's draft. And I mean, there were some mishaps from CE, some poor positioning, weren't getting the perfect setups for the way their draft wanted to play, but you could tell that SPT were ready to punish those mistakes. They had the tools to be able to force them to make these mistakes. And I really liked some of the movements that they made when they came towards these shrines.
And so, Caldor, right now, Super Perfect Team, they will be moving on to play against, I believe it's flipped at this point, so it should be the loser of Genji versus Ballistics, I believe, but I might be incorrect. Either way, one of the Korean teams, which we've already seen them lose to Blossom earlier today. After this performance, a little bit more solid than earlier today. What are your thoughts on them?
Next series that they play is going to be a best of 5.
Yes, it is.
And it's going to be against a higher seed in Korea than Blossom, who they faced first, where they get absolutely demolished. So maybe if they have some time to do research and come out with a couple of strategies to surprise someone.
Maybe a non-Zarya Cassia strategy.
They have maybe a bit of an edge, but at this point I have lost a bit of faith into the Chinese region. So when they go up against Korea, I would be shocked if they would be able to hold a candle to the next Korean opponent.
Snitch, your thoughts?
I was quite fond of this kind of reinvigorated SPT. Misaka looked very good throughout the series. We were addressing him as a key playmaker earlier, and it didn't feel like he showed up against Blossom. But in this set, I feel like he performed very well in both games, very good at finding these picks. I like that they played a lot more standard in this set. I feel they feel very pressured to play these weird styles against these Korean teams, pulling out the Zarya, these unnecessary random picks that I don't think they have to make. I think this series is a testament to their standard style being very good and very effective. And I think if they're better at just picking comps that they can play well, picking more regular heroes, I think, they can maybe take games in these best of 5s coming up.
All right, and it looks like our interview is ready, so we're going to send you over to an interview with our winners, Super Perfect Team.
I am here with your winner, Misaka from SPT. And Misaka, definitely you looked a lot better in this series. Was there something that you guys did during the downtime? You seem more coordinated here during this match, especially against a rival of yours. What's different from this morning to this afternoon?
第一个问题是，今天早上到今天下午之后呢，你的表现会越来越好。然后问一下你，就是这中间有没有什么调整？
今天早上起来的比较早，然后场馆温度有点低，然后可能脑子不是太清楚吧，然后经过就是队友输了早上的比赛输了之后，经过队友的就是讨论吧，然后感觉有很多点还是可以做得更好的。
They think they wake up very early and it's a little cold here. And they discussed a lot after the morning's match, and that is why they had much more better this afternoon.
Well, your play during game number 1, especially on the Diablo, but obviously your Garrosh play, but the Diablo play was very impactful, especially post-level 16. Does it feel like this is a meta where you can really excel and maybe use some of these strategies to maybe take down a Korean team? Obviously, you've got another opponent first, but does it feel like if you can play this way that it will give you an advantage to take down a potential Korean team?
首先他认为你的大菠萝玩的比那个加尔鲁什要好很多，更有进攻性。他问你是否后边还会用继续这种战术来对抗韩国的战队？
要看地图吧，然后要看整体的阵容搭配吧。然后其实也不是我大菠萝玩的比加尔鲁什好，只是刚好那个第一盘我那个大菠萝就对面好像就是没有人可以搞死我，然后就打得比较大胆嘛。
He thinks a hero's choice depends on the map and the draft of the team. And for the first match, it's just happened that other team had no one to counter the Diablo, so he performed better.
Well, obviously, we've got 2 more Chinese teams coming up to play with Beyond the Game taking on the One. How do you see that matchup playing out?
接下来的2局还有2支中国战队是，然后你认为这2支战队谁的可能性会更大一点？
我觉得可能，我更好看好 BTG 一点。
He's looking at BTG. His BTG is better.
Well, obviously, you've still got to go through the winner of that. The odds of you getting through that, a lot of the other Chinese teams see you all as the best hope to take down the Korean teams and move on. Obviously, you've got to get through that. Do you feel that this is the team? We heard in your pregame interview, you said that this is a better team. Do you feel that you have what it takes to get into the top 4?
他们认为就是你们的战队应该是中国战队里最有希望打败韩国战队的。那么后边还有机会跟韩国队交手，你们认为有没有机会打入前4这次？
后面的话，我们应该是对阵根基和那个 Britex 的败者吧。然后，感觉他们都挺强的，但是因为这次东决和上一次东决剧本有点相似，所以我不想再继续上一次东决的那个剧本了。因为我们今天早上输给了韩国第4嘛，然后。明天的话，其实我们还是想自我救赎一下的。
No matter who he's facing for tomorrow, he's worried about it. However, what happened so far is very similar for the Eastern Clash 1, so he doesn't want to happen again. He's gonna be do his best.
Well, congratulations on your victory. We will be seeing you on day number 2, but we are not done with today's action just yet, as we've got one more series to go, as we will have Beyond the Game taking on the One for our final match of day number 1.
Dragon Child.